San Antonio, Texas, please make it loud for Josh Johnson!
If I'm truly being honest with y'all, one thing I've not been able to stop thinking about is the tariffs. It's like is all I can think about, because all I read about, because it seemed like everybody is like, oh, this is bad. I know people who do not watch the news at all that are like, why is everything red? Did everybody change logos or something? Every time I turn on TV, everything red. What is that? My TV bleeding, something going on. No, in case you have not been aware, in case you're trying to protect yourself and go about your day, there's been a bit of a trade war going on. The wildest thing about a trade war is that you are allowed to, like, okay. I was trying to put this in perspective. Okay, you know how when you were like on the playground and, you know, somebody would be like, my dad can beat up your dad. And you were like, oh, you think your dad can beat up my dad? It's like, yeah, I think my dad can beat up your dad. And then, you know, kid one over here is like, yeah, well, my dad goes to CrossFit. And, you know, kid two is like, yeah, well, my dad has been to jail. Sort of the CrossFit of life. So I bet you my dad can beat up your dad. And then, you know, other kid, CrossFit kid, dad is like, you know, my dad, he has swords. He has swords, so you can try to beat him up, but he'll chop your dad up. And then kid two is like, well, my dad has guns. That's actually why he had to go to the CrossFit of life. It's because he has lots of those. A couple swords too, but he prefers to bring the guns when he has issues. And then, you know, CrossFit, sword, dad, kid is like, yeah, well, my dad is 6'5", so he could definitely beat up your dad. And then, you know, gun, jail. Kid is like, oh, my dad is 5'2", so he has quite a chip on his shoulder, so your dad will be dying, all right? And that's kind of what a trade war is like. You know what I mean? It's like nothing has to happen in the moment, but it is a lot of being behind the desk like, I bet you my economy can beat up your economy. And yeah, we know that Trump loves tariffs because even in his first term, he had a lot of tariffs on China for steel and everything. And he campaigned on tariffs and what he thought tariffs would do, at least what he says that they'll do for the U.S. economy in the long run. And so we know that he is serious about the tariffs. I think there were definitely some people that thought that he wasn't serious about the tariffs, and that was a mistake because he was very serious about the tariffs. He was so serious about the tariffs that apparently, now look, I'm gonna do my best here. I am both paraphrasing for the sake of brevity and going off of things that I've read and things that I've been told, and I am not an economist, so I'll do my best job, but I'm telling you, I'm gonna be wrong, okay? But I'm gonna be as close to right as possible on purpose. But apparently this man loves tariffs so much that right when he took office, there were economists, conservative Trump voting Republican economists who, while leaning right, still understand the economy. They still, that's not a dig. I'm saying that the two things can exist together. I'm saying that understand the economy and they vote the way they vote, but they know the numbers, is what I'm saying. Because I'm not an economist. They understand the economists, kind of. So they immediately went to work coming up with tariff plans so that way whenever Trump wanted to enact his tariffs, they would have the numbers ready, right? And so they did all the math and they did all the going back and forth and did all the figuring out that could be figured, you know? And then they went to Trump and he wasn't happy with the plan apparently, because in order to enact the tariffs the way that he wants, the numbers, a lot of them at least, were quite small. So then Trump, paraphrasing, but he was like, what is this 1.7? What is this 2.8, these 2.3, this 0.8? No, we need big numbers. We need to impress the people. You gonna send me out there and embarrass me in front of America? I need big numbers. Get me some big numbers, which apparently is why when he walked out with that poster board, you know that... You saw the board. You know that board that... You saw that poster board. It looked like homework, right? Like that poster board. Yeah, poster board out, and he was going down the line, right? He was going down and just naming places like 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, little bit of jelly donut, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, a little bit of chicken grease. That was not 100, that was a 10, 10, 10, 10, 94. You know, because he hit the world with 10% tariffs. If you were anywhere on earth, you could get this 10. Please don't think you can't get this 10 just because you uninhabited. Anybody can get it. Anybody can get it. Please believe me when I tell you. Anybody can get it. All right? You think you cute because you just got some little aminals on your little island? You still getting it. All right? We don't care. This is America. We do what we do when we feel like it. 10, 10, 10, 34, 10, 10, 10, 10, 78, 10, 10, 10. And it was perplexing. The economists didn't understand it. Top Republicans didn't understand it. Even the people that were in support of Trump and his tariffs couldn't tell you that they really understood it. No one really understood it because there wasn't too much to understand. Everybody who does numbers was like, ooh, this is not numbers. This is not the numbers that I thought it was when I thought They were on like CNBC, basically any money channel, any money news channel. When these tariffs went out, they were on there cursing live. They were like, fine us, we don't care. We're all gonna die. You think I care about $10,000? I'll throw you another couple. The dude who does the bleeps must have had money in the market because he was gone. They were up there cursing live. I couldn't believe it. Normally, you'd even see the blurry mouth. I saw them enunciate the swear words. I was like, okay. This might be bad then. If the people who do money all day are upset and they looking at the red and everything look upside down on the graphs, I'm pretty sure it's supposed to go up like this. Yeah, I mean, you're getting a little low. Dow Jones was not playing. That Dow Jones was like, hey, I'm dead, y'all. No. Yeah, that S&P 500 was down to 5. It was bad. It's like these were rough moments we were in, and nobody really understood why. We lost $3 trillion of value in the market in a day. People were showing me pictures of the stock market and the S&P and the Dow, and then their portfolio, and I was like, man, we got to pick a different color, because that much red ain't good for your eyes. But yeah, apparently, there were economists that tried to figure out something that would do what Trump said they wanted to do, but he was like, no, I need to go out to the people and really make a statement, and I need to make a statement for the other nations so they take this thing seriously. So, 10, give me some 34s, give me some 55s, I'll take anything, just bring it all to me. And they were like, sir, that isn't math. That may not work. But Trump was so dead set on going to other countries like, you get a tariff, you get a tariff, you get a tariff, like an opposite Oprah, like a reverse Oprah. You get a tariff, you cry and take that tariff, right? And now this part, I hope, is not true. I'm repeating it because I've read it like in 5 different places. It's been told to me 3 different times, but apparently he sort of sent away the plan that the actual economist wrote up, and then he asked someone else to draw up a plan that would do the tariffs truly bigly, right? Like we really making a statement. And in doing that, they did, apparently, I don't want this to be true because it means we're all doomed, but apparently they did ask ChatGPT what to do with which I don't know. I feel like even when they typed that in to ChatGPT, Chat was like, you sure, dog? Like, which is a fitting bit of irony, though. It is kind of funny to me that like ChatGPT wrote up a formula that was then applied that then tanked the stock of the company that owns ChatGPT. Like it's a beautiful little closed loop. But ChatGPT went ahead and did its thing. They asked him, hey, how can we tariff the whole world and not have everybody die? And ChatGPT was like, I don't know about the die part, but I will get you a little formula real quick. And it went and then it dropped this formula, and that's the same formula that they've been showing. Now this formula, it does have all the components of like a math equation. It's got the parentheses in there, it's got some X and some Y, has a little cursive, it has that little squiggly thing for when you divide, and I think it has everything that you've ever like looked at a meme about confusion that was coming at you, it's in there. It's all that stuff. All that beautiful mind drawing stuff is what's in the thing. It's got some tops, it's got some bottoms. It's got some other like little symbols rubbing together and everything. But apparently when plugging in any type of numbers into this equation, they still got the math wrong. So no matter if this thing came from ChatGPT or if it came from some mathematic genius, when applied, it was still applied wrong because the tariffs more went towards the tariff amounts more went to trying to reciprocate the amount of money with countries that we had a deficit with than the actual like reciprocal tariff, if that makes sense. Like we applied that thing as if, oh, they're just tariffing us this much, so we're going to tariff them the same amount. But rather than actually doing that, we were like, here is some math just to make everybody confused real quick, and then we'll actually go ahead and slap a tariff on them for their deficit or for their surplus, which also does not make any sense because then we're both punishing people who buy a lot from us and punishing the people we sell to off the things that we sold them to make things for us, right? So it's basically like being in a bad marriage where like it's like being in a bad marriage where it's like, well, I don't know why you hate me. You married me. Like, I'm just over here being your husband. I don't really get why you so mad at me right now. Ooh, you hate me, but you married me. Anyway. And so that is partially where we landed, which is distressing. That first day, these tariffs get applied, the markets react and everything, and $3 trillion of value is just gone, sort of wiped out in the moment. And then the next day it was worse, because the next day they were like, oh, we still doing it because we can get redder, we can get Oh, we haven't even broke out all the red in the crayon box yet. We can keep getting red. And then there was like another $6 trillion loss, like over time. But like we were at 6 trillion, I think, by like that Friday at 4 p.m. or something. And then we lost money over the weekend, which I didn't even think was possible. I thought the whole point of the market closing was to close. Don't keep counting. That doesn't feel fair to me, to keep counting even though we closed and now I owe more than I owed before. That's not fair at all. But then when Japan opened up and Japan was plunging about 8% on their market, and then our futures were also our futures, you know, the future, you know, the thing you're supposed to look forward to, that was also looking bleak for us. And then our market opened and the market was like, no, we still dying, dog. I'm not pretending. I'm not going to pretend to know math. You know what I mean? I've met math. I've been affected by math, for sure. Math rules everything around me, yes. But when I tell you that the reason I don't want to hold like public office, I don't want to do any of that stuff, is because I don't want my math to affect anybody else, because I'm bad at it. I'm bad at math. The only time that my math affects other people's lives is when it's my turn to pay at dinner. And that is a bummer for everyone. That is, you can feel it. Okay. When it's my turn to pay for the check and I'm trying to, in my head, out loud, figure out the tip to then add I gotta divide to do the tip, and then I gotta add the number I just divided and then put that together and put that on the total on the merchant copy, all right? We're all up to speed. We've all been to a restaurant. But watching me do that it instantly feels like when the teacher would make you read in class, but you knew a big word was coming up. You had been trying to sound out this word while the teacher was talking about some other stuff, because you had already counted the paragraphs. The teacher making everybody go one paragraph, a paragraph, a paragraph, and you like, okay, I'm sitting here, which means I'm 8 paragraphs away. That's my word. Oh, no. And so then you trying to sound out the word in your head, but you can't sound out in your head. So you're like, maybe I'm not even sounding out right now because my head is quiet. And then they get to you and it's your turn to read, and you're like reading all good, killing it. You even sounding out the commas. You know what I mean? You see that comma and you go, pause. And then you finally hit that big word and you like, all right. Hey, you old enough now, you don't want to sound like you sounded out, because everybody will think you can't read, even though you read half the paragraph with no problem. You did mic drops on those periods. Anytime there was a period in a sentence, you were like, this good textbook right here. Yeah, what do y'all know about this English lesson, this Chaucer, okay? And then you finally get to the word and you're like, that's a cough. That was a cough. That wasn't even me reading just now. That's and the teacher goes, scrumptious. I was getting to it. I was getting to it. I was just trying to enjoy the word. I was trying to chew on the word. You the one getting all impatient and stuff. You trying to teach us patience. You're not even patient. That's me. Like, at least the closest I come to ruining everybody's life with math is when it's my turn to pay at dinner and I'm trying to factor out loud the tip, and I'm hearing me try to do math in my head, hearing a grown man say carry the is not gonna inspire confidence in my abilities, right? If I'm sitting there with the, okay, and then you got the two right there, all right? Anytime I gotta do math without a calculator or a pencil, it's a whole conversation. I'm literally sitting there like, all right, so, I'm gonna do 25% because she was killing it, all right? So 25%, that's even better because it's also a quarter. Now I just gotta break this down into 4 parts and then put that line there, right? So now all I gotta do is get you to be still, be still, be still, be still. Stop it. I'm telling a 6 to stop it out loud at the table. Stop moving, all right? So now we gonna carry the 3, and if that 6 will be still, I think we at 9. No, that's up. That's not even division. That's more. Okay, all right. So I'm gonna put a 4 here, and that 4 gonna slide up and trip that 5. Gonna kick the legs up under that 5. And then that's a 1. Why couldn't this be an even number? Why couldn't somebody just order the guacamole like I said? That would have got us closer. Okay, so 7 and 3, that's 10 anyway. So that's 10. So now we know we're gonna have a 2 in there. I know y'all want to go. All right? Get in the car then. Get in the car. I'll follow. Yeah. And then I get embarrassed. And so I just write the total twice. And then I'm like, at least if I tip 100%, nobody could be mad at me. But then I'm sitting there like, can I really afford this? Because then I got to get in the car and do the math in my head of my account. I'm like, all right, so we eating on Sunday, all right? Tomorrow is a business day. It's not going to go through till tomorrow. So if I add a 20 to the account, ooh, I'm overdrafting hard. Oh, I don't know what the number is, but I know that fee gonna hit. We're in a bad way. One of the biggest problems that I think is facing Americans and the country is that we don't have a sort of cohesive identity of care for each other. So, for instance, something could happen to a large swath of Americans, and there'd be other Americans that are like, good, I don't care, whatever. And I'm not saying any country is perfect. And I know that some of the countries I'm mentioning have at least a little bit of a homogeny to them and everything. But whether you're Portuguese, you're Spanish, you're Italian, you're Brazilian, you're Mexican, when something happens and it happens to your countrymen, you see it as happening to your countrymen because they're all in a country together. They're all like in this thing together. I'm not saying there's not poor and rich and they don't have some of the same problems that we have. I'm not saying that factions haven't split people more than ever before, especially with the internet. I'm just saying that like they can look at a person they don't know and be like, that is my countryman, right? And we haven't had something like that for a long time. There are whole parts of the country that if you put them in a room together, we assume they would fight. We assume that it would come to blows almost immediately, just off of like, hey, do you want to pass the salt? Like, just like not even a political thing, just, it would just happen eventually, you know? And I thought that the connective tissue that we had as a country would put us together cohesively was at least like capital. I thought it was at least money. I thought that money would be at least the one thing that made us go, all right, we should all stop and figure this thing out right now. If it's not money, I don't know what it is. Like visiting another country and seeing it doesn't have to be this way is crazy. I'm surprised that's what we're not allowed to do. I'm surprised we're allowed to still travel. Because if you go anywhere else on like planet Earth, and I'm not talking about every place, I'm just saying, there are places that you look around and you'll be like, y'all don't just punch people in the face for being broke? Y'all don't just... Wow, all right, crazy. Going to another country that's like functioning and seeing how they operate is like going to a functional family's house for dinner. Like, it's just... You're just sitting there astonished. You're like, everybody here? Everybody sitting at the table together? All right. Got mom, got dad, got kids, and invited me over as a guest, and y'all just all smiling. As the dad, you're just sitting there. You're just sitting there asking your kids about their day. Their day at school. What are you doing, dude? What are you doing? You should be abandoning all of them right now. You should be abandoning all of them. You should be going to Vegas and putting it all on black, and then you win. You actually win. You doubled your net worth in a day, and then you put it all on red because you had a feeling, and then you lost it all, and then you're sitting in this casino's cafeteria where there's very nice food, but somehow it's still like a disgusting cafeteria, and you've got these crab legs and these lobster tails in front of you, but you're wondering what you're going to do after tonight because there's nowhere to go because you left home. That's what you should be doing. Not asking your kids, how was school? Like, and then the mom sitting here. Mom sitting here, help dad cook the meal. They cooked it together as a family unit. You know, they didn't just fall into general norms. You know, they figured out that he bakes good and she makes great chicken. So she made the chicken, he baked some bread and everything. And it's all on the table together. They're watching their children eat it for the nourishment of their bodies. Food that they bought through the work that they do. They both work jobs. You have to be a 2-income household now. It can't just be one person working. And so they worked really hard and they bought that food and they cooked that food to the best of their ability. And now it's going to feed their children and give them good nourishment for their bodies. And they don't resent those kids at all. And that's crazy. Like, why aren't you looking at these kids like they ruined everything? Why aren't you telling them what you did before they were born? Like as a dad, you should be telling them, I used to dunk. All right? I used to have a sick vertical. And then, you know, you came along and I was trying to put your car seat in the car and close the door too fast and slam my knee. I'll never jump again. But enjoy your baked goods. Like, that's the type of dad that you should be. You're just over here smiling at them, watching them enjoy your bread. Oh, Dad, it's so good. And as the mom, you're over here working a job, cooking as well, and not resenting anyone here. You did a great job cooking rosemary chicken. It's delicious, succulent, not dry at all. How'd you manage that? How'd you manage not to dry it out? The rosemary's perfectly on there, and you shouldn't be here. You should be cheating. You should be cheating to give your kids something to fight against, okay? You want to make your kid a star athlete, you go out there right now and you cheat. You break up this family so that the only solace they can find is baseball, and then they just hit dinger after dinger every game because they're hitting their trauma. And then one day a scout from a good college, a college they couldn't possibly afford because it's not a 2-income household anymore. One of those colleges comes to scout this kid, and they're like, man, that kid's got talent. And we have to get him on on this school's team, full ride. He goes from that full ride to AAA minor into the majors. And then one day, they're interviewing him at the end of a game where he's hit the dinger that won them the World Series. And he's like, hey, I don't know where, I'm sorry, I'm getting so emotional. I don't know where, like, my mom and dad are, but just know that I love you and I hope you're watching. And I did this for you, okay? I did this for you. I love you so much. You should be doing that instead of just helping them with their homework. And the kids are like sitting there, well behaved, which is crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy. They're not hitting each other at all. They're not trying to put a fork in the other's temple at all. They're just sitting there enjoying, like, mom and dad's cooking and everything, laughing at each other's jokes. Hey, I have a joke. Everyone cares. Like, it's insane. You're sitting at a table as a family in America. This should not be happening, all right? You know, as the son, you should be sitting there yelling at your dad, give me back my skateboard or I'll kill you. Like, that's more our speed, you know? And that's what it feels like to just go to another country and watch them go to the hospital when they need to go to the hospital. Like, that's, you know what I mean, just watch social safety nets happen and have just like a general care for citizens and stuff. That's what that feels like when it happens. One of the things that makes it so bad is that we have this attitude because of the strength of the dollar and because it is the base of, like, the world's currency. Everyone compares their currency to the dollar, the strength of their currency, the strength of the dollar, and people would like to be paid in dollars, at least for now. And there's an attitude that we have as Americans that it has to be that way. That we don't know any other way, so it must stay that way. So it really doesn't matter what we do, but it does. It does. All of that belief, all of that standard, with us as a standard, is confidence. And if your partners lose confidence in you, it's not going to be good for you. If your confidence is waning because of moves that have been made and unpredictability, then people will try to figure something else out. That's a little terrifying. You know, I'm not an economist. I don't know how all of it works. I just know that you can only really bully the whole world for so long. Do you know what I mean? There was a flight a couple years ago where on this flight, this dude on the flight stands up mid-flight and is talking wild and reckless. This dude stands up and he's like, I'm gonna kill everybody in here, okay? All right, you're all gonna die. Do you understand me? Every single one of you is gonna bleed and die. And he's making all these weird movements and he is freaking people out, and people are stuck in their seats. They're like paused in their seats. There's only one person who's like taking a little bit of cell phone footage of this dude because nobody knows what this dude is going to do, and he's getting up so confident and he's so scared because I guess he's like a bigger dude as well, and he's like, no, y'all are all gonna die. He's clearly having like some sort of mental episode, but at the same time nobody can know how serious he is or like what his problem is or anything, and people are frozen in their seats, right? And he's like, I'm gonna kill every single one of you. You're all gonna die. I'm gonna crash this plane. And then he tries to get into the cockpit as well. He can't get into the cockpit because that's locked. And finally, this dude goes into, I think it's his back pocket, right? And everybody's expecting a knife, a gun, and this dude has a spoon. And when everyone realized that all he had was a spoon, talking this reckless, they whooped his ass. There was plenty of cell phone footage of that. They were whooping this dude. I know they don't do it on flights anymore because people have allergies, but back in the day, they used to have peanuts on flights. And every once in a while, somebody would open the peanut packet too hard, and the peanuts would go everywhere. They go over the tray table, but then they go in the aisle, and they bounce all down the aisle because the plane was still getting some altitude and everything. And he kind of looked like that peanut. They were passing him around, beating his ass. They were really tossing him back and forth. And then he still had the spoon. Was like, wait. Man, that cracked me up. Wait. Duh. They made that man sound like tennis in there. That man, he was using the spoon a little bit. He was like, man. And people were like, all right, fingers and eyes. There were other people who never got the chance to beat his ass that just watched it with their phones, and you could see them just with the eyes going, ooh. And then they restrained him, and then they landed. Cops got on the plane like, damn. I thought we were whooping ass. Man, this man tied down to the seat with seatbelts and duct tape and still got the spoon. And then, in the midst of all this turmoil, all this red, Trump tweeted, or, great time to buy. That's the most unserious thing I've ever heard in my life. Honestly, look. Admit it for a second to yourself. You don't have to say it out loud, but just know in your heart, if this was any other country, you would be laughing your ass off at that. That is very, very, very funny. That is so inappropriate and so funny at the same time. It's basically like somebody driving the car towards your car accident going, wee! And then, because we don't have a serious system, because we're not doing things the way that maybe anybody should do them. Somebody from Trump's administration, I'm pretty sure his cabinet, and I don't want to say the wrong name, but just know that they're in his circle. They went on, maybe it was CNBC, it was one of the major news networks, and they were asked by the anchor, do you think there's any possibility that all these tariffs, all this stuff going out is really just to raise the alarm bells, and that there's a possibility of a sort of 90-day situation, just like with Canada and Mexico? And then that guy said, yeah, the president's going to decide what he wants to decide. He's going to do what he wants to do. But then, off of that, you heard me when I said, yeah, the president's going to decide what he's going to do. Yeah, just off that noise, that noise right there. Yeah. Someone clipped that and tweeted the yeah. And then they said that there was about to be a 90-day pause. And then the market went up $3 trillion because we are not really here, I guess. Like, that's one of the craziest things I've ever heard. I knew money wasn't real before, but I didn't know. That's a noise. He didn't even give it a full yeah. Yeah. $3 trillion from right? And then it went back down again because the White House came out and was like, we never said that. And so it dropped all the way back. And then like 2 days later, Trump reversed the 2 days later, he was like, yeah. He reversed the tariffs, and then the market shot up like $3 trillion again. I'm starting to think the market only understands $3 trillion. And I'm not saying I knew it would happen. If I did, I would have made a lot of money, like some of those people that are potentially going to be investigated because they had calls on the market for 2,000%, and then they very rich. Trump even pointed one out. He was like, "That guy made $9 billion today." Whatever he said. And yeah, I'm just saying, I didn't expect it. I did not expect there to be a ton of follow through in that. I'm just saying that when he said, I'm not saying I believe everything he says. I'm saying I thought he believed what he said when he said it. I thought, look, I'm not saying I believe when he says the thing. I don't know if I believe it. But when anyone says what they say, you would think that they would know if they believe it or don't believe it, because they said it, because they're alone in there with their head to say it or not say it, and then to know if they're lying or not lying. But then I was not in his head, so I'm like, I don't know, right? But I thought he would know whether or not he meant what he said anytime he speaks, just for himself, not for us. I understand the man can lie, but this in your head just for you is where I don't think you should be able to fool yourself. I don't think you should be able to trick yourself that way. If you said it, you alone in your head in your room of one should know what you mean when you say it. And I know that doesn't make sense, but it makes as much sense as the tariffs, because it is in his head by himself. So, all right. Yeah. That was the thing. That was the thing. And then he, reversed the tariffs on a bunch of countries, except he increased the tariffs on China because they had increased the tariffs on us in the wake of that thing happening. So then it was really just, my dad can beat up your dad. I didn't forget you from before, so just know that my dad can beat up your dad. And then China was like, you don't, look. China made a statement early into the little tariff trade war where they were like, if the U.S. wants a trade war or any other type of war, we're ready and we'll fight to the end. And that's a lot. That's a lot. I thought we were talking about numbers, and that's another place to take it. And then Trump raised it to like almost 150% on. And this is my thing. I'm not an economist. I don't even know math. But can we at least keep the percents in the 100, please? You know what I mean? Because we're getting into some dangerous territory. The only other place that percents have gone over 100 and has been bad for people in this way is Maury. Maury had people on that were 1,000% sure, and they couldn't have been more wrong. They could not have been more fundamentally incorrect. One of my favorite, in case you're not familiar with Maury, in case you have not been blessed with the afternoon programming, the after school watching that was Maury, there were episodes of Maury. Maybe my favorite episode of all time was white woman, white man, black baby, fraternity episode. That was art. So white woman over here, and she's like, that's his baby, Maury. That's his baby. Why won't he take care of his responsibilities more? Okay, so we dated for a while. We would hook up from time to time, and then we broke up. So I was out. You know what I mean? I saw some people, but that's his baby. Look at it. The baby got a head. He got a head. That's his baby. All right. And then I never thought that I would have to say it this way, but then this poor white man had to, in real time, navigate making sure everyone understood he was not the father while not saying anything horrifically offensive. And to his credit, he really kept a cool head and did his best. He was like, Okay, look. We all God's children, all right? Okay, and I mean this with no disrespect to the African American gentleman baby or the community at large, but he and I are not kin. And then Maury, who is normally the voice of reason, who you think would have his back, says out loud, "You don't think this could be your child?" And this man is sitting here like, "Maury, don't make me say it. Are you serious? Look at the screen." And then he read it out. He was like, the DNA results are in. He pulls it out of the envelope and he goes, "When it comes to the case of 2-year-old Dalmontravius, Mike, you are not the father." And of course she was like, "No!" And she did 6 backflips and ran outside. And then he went, "Yeah, I know." Y'all be blessed. And that's my thing. It's like if you're gonna be more than 100% sure, you have to be so sure. You have to be right. You have to be correct. And China came out with a statement. I think it was today. It might have been yesterday. I don't know. I just saw it where they were like, due to the U.S. Tariff raise, we will be raising tariffs 125%, and any other raises the U.S. will do in retaliation will be inconsequential and will be seen as a joke in the history of economies. And I'm just saying, maybe you don't want to get into a math contest with China. Y'all been fantastic. Thank y'all so much. Trillion, that's a lot. Trillion, that's a lot. Yeah. That's a lot.
You guys are so wonderful. Are y'all ready for your headliner? Y'all start clapping right now. Give it up for Josh Johnson.
I don't know if y'all saw everything that's happening with Tesla either. That's crazy stuff. Okay, so basically, if you're not aware, Tesla is an electric vehicle that, rewind just a couple of years, was not a political statement at all. It was a car you could buy or not buy. It was just a car on the market that had some stock, and the stock would go up and go down and go up and go down. And then, Elon Musk decides to get involved with politics and gives anywhere from like $250 to I think maybe $270 million to Trump's campaign. And then Trump wins and Elon becomes the president. And so Elon becomes the president, and people don't really know how to feel because this particular thing hasn't happened before. There's always been like millionaires and billionaires donating to campaigns and stuff like that, but this is the most like infused a person has been in like what's going to happen, and it's very clear in what is self-serving when it comes to like Elon's actions and everything. And so then, you know, inauguration day comes, and there's all the fanfare of like this new administration is starting. And there are some people who own Teslas already, like they bought theirs in 2022. And they would tell people, hey, I bought mine in 2022. Like, I don't. Just so you know, I got mine in 2022. I didn't know, and I wasn't a part of it. And I was trying to get an electric vehicle to help the environment. I didn't know it would be. So, just so you know about me. And then Elon's giving a speech, and then he says, my heart goes out to you. And then he does like a full-on Nazi salute, right? And does it again, for clarity. And there is a part of me that genuinely, when someone buys something, especially something expensive, and then something happens with that company, a part of me does feel for them, because there are people who bought their Tesla in 2022. They might have been sitting in their Tesla when they saw Elon do a Nazi salute, like. And now you sitting here, you gotta lease this car. I don't know if y'all saw, but Trump released the JFK files, or at least is starting to release the JFK files, and yeah, it's a lot. He said there's like 80,000 pages or something. I think they've released like anywhere from like 2 to 20,000 already, with more to come and stuff. And I don't know about anybody else, but when it comes to JFK and the conspiracies around his death, those were like some of the first moments that you saw, for at least a wide population of Americans, trust in government and its agencies break. A trust that they've never got back since, where like whole government agencies don't have the trust of the people, because up until then, you know, maybe they classified things, maybe they told the public lies or whatever, but they were things that people felt like they could at least get on with life believing. You know, JFK was the first thing for a lot of people that spawned the real like tinfoil hat stuff, what aren't they telling us sort of thing. And so you would see something like this big release of the files, you know, 20,000 with like 60,000 more to come. And it's kind of crazy that everyone sees that and they're like, nah, I'm good. 80,000 pages? I don't think JFK cares that much. That's 80,000 pages. Game of Thrones isn't 80,000 pages. 80,000 pages is insane. What are you doing? You know, it's like the thing is full. It's full. I've read some of it, and it's full of things that are snapshots of the time that JFK was assassinated in, but they aren't things that people were looking for. When people talk about files that they want released, they're talking about things that probably have been destroyed forever, like some of the autopsy files, some of the coroner's notes, all that stuff like that is not in what's been released. What's been released are the goings on of like Cuba, Mexico City, USSR, and everything. And the one thing that we did find out for sure through the release of the files is that the CIA had a much bigger file and much more knowledge of Lee Harvey Oswald than we previously thought. and they had been tracking his movements and everything. He had been going to these different countries. I'm pretty sure he went to Mexico City for a little bit, and then he went to the USSR, and I don't know if the word is defect, but he basically was trying to leave the U.S., become an expat and join USSR, and even tore up his passport and everything, and the USSR was like, oh, nah. Nah, we good. That's crazy to me. That's someone, you have a CIA file on you and you're trying to move to the USSR, and they are like, you giving off some bad vibes. Like, I don't know what it is, but you creeping everybody out. Like, you stare too much, dog. Like, what are you looking at when you looking over here? It's unsettling. Just take that somewhere else. And so then he came back somehow. Didn't seem like he had a problem coming back, even though he tore up his passport. And then commits the assassination. And then Jack Ruby kills Lee Harvey Oswald. And there were so many people who thought that Jack Ruby's mob ties meant that he was sort of there to close loose end, that maybe the mob did it. And even now, there are people that say, oh no, the mob did it, Cuba did it, the Soviets did it. I think that when you're going through all these pages and you're reading this stuff that we're learning about how much the CIA and the FBI actually knew and didn't do anything, it doesn't really surprise me. It doesn't do much for me in the way of a revelation. And it's probably just because, because I'm black. As a black guy, I'm not going to sit here and be like, not the CIA. You mean to tell me the CIA? Next, you're going to be talking about the FBI. Guys, no. No, not at all. Because that's the thing. That's what trips me up too, is all these pages are getting released. There are things that were released during Trump's first administration that were redacted pretty heavily, and then they've been re-released, not redacted, right? Or just one line redacted. So much so that there are people that are actually mad at Trump because they're like, some of that stuff, some of those people are still alive. What are you doing? You know what I mean? And so then, you'll have like one little line that's redacted, and you'll have someone obsess over that specific line because it's not finding the truth for them. It's about keeping the conspiracy going, because you'll even see they uploaded it to the archives. You can check it out in the archives right now. They uploaded everything they've uploaded so far. In my opinion, they've done pretty badly. I think they just had a scanner and they were like, he said today, so... I know it's crooked. He said today. I know. Honestly, I looked at some of the files, some of the handwriting in some of the notes, whether it's written by a CIA agent or like some politician, some of the notes in there are so bad. Like, the handwriting is so bad. I'm like, he did it. Like, that's suspicious as hell, handwriting. Little thing. Little line will be redacted. Oh, that's what they don't want you to see. That's where all the truth is. It's like, look, maybe. I'm not even saying that's not possible. Maybe. But also... maybe it's just like an address that makes sure that a person who has nothing to do with this doesn't get implicated. There are all types of reasons to redact something. And it's when people put that much weight on the thing to keep the whole thing going that I'm like, you don't want to know. You want to keep guessing, And don't get me wrong, it's fun to guess. I love guessing. I don't know what I'm talking about half the time. Sometimes I'm just guessing. No? Best way I can describe it is I'm a fight fan. So I watch boxing, I watch MMA and stuff like that. And I watch men's fights, I watch women's fights, and I just kind of follow the fighter and follow their journey and enjoy who I enjoy because I like the person. I like their story, right? And there was this young woman. I do not know if she is from Brazil. I think she is because I'm pretty sure she was speaking Portuguese, and she only speaks Portuguese. She doesn't speak English. So after fights, when someone wins, especially if they don't speak the language, they will do the post-fight interview right there. And they might do another press conference later, but they'll do the post-fight interview. And if they do not speak the language, someone will come out, a translator for the promotion will come out. And in this case, her translator was her coach. So she wins the fight, and it's big. It's the biggest fight that she's won of her career. It puts her in the rankings and everything. And so the announcer walks up, and he's like, "Congratulations on a fantastic fight. Was this win mean to you? It's sort of putting you on the map right now against such a tough opponent." And she speaks for like 8 seconds, and then her coach goes, "Thank you so much, everybody, for watching my fight. I really appreciate it. I worked really hard, and thank you so much for the love." And then she speaks for another 8 seconds, and the coach is like, "Everything that I do, I'm doing for y'all at home, from my town, to show you that no matter what, where you're from, you can make it on a world stage." And then the announcer asks her, what are your future plans? What's next for you? You know, now that you're in the rankings, there's a certain opponent you want to call out. And she speaks even shorter this time for like 6 seconds. And then her coach is like, "Yeah, the next plans are anybody who wants it, all right? I'm taking heads, I'm taking necks. I want your limbs, give me your arms, give me your legs. If I see you on the street, it's already on, you already know. The best thing you could do is drop out of the division right now because I'm coming for all y'all's necks. I'm killing everybody, all right? You're going to dream about me, and then when you wake up, I'm going to be there. That's on God, okay? I'm killing all of y'all. None of y'all can stop me. None of y'all can touch me. What I did to her was a mercy killing. I'm coming to kill y'all for real. I want your bodies, okay? I'm stacking bodies, all right? And the champ, I'm going to beat the champ, and I'm going to beat the brakes off the champ in her hometown. She's going to bleed in front of her people, okay?" And then they exited the octagon. They went ahead and left, and then there was a fighter, because, you know, fighters watch other fighters' fights, and they'll live tweet it, and he tweeted right after that whole thing. She ain't say all that. And I'm not gonna lie, that's what those redacted lines feel like to me sometimes, where I'm just like, yeah, look, maybe the whole truth is in the one sentence, but maybe it's in the 80,000 pages that nobody feels like reading. Because Trump said he was going to release JFK files, and he slowly released them over time, I guess. And then there were people that were like, "Well, why won't you release the Epstein files? The Epstein files are what we want. That's what we're actually focused on. Why won't you release the Epstein files? Is it because you actually knew Epstein? Is it because you might be implicated? Is it because you were on the flight logs? Why won't you release the Epstein files?" All right? And then he does release the Epstein files, but what he does is he releases a bunch of files that were already released like last year, and then redacts some of them to make them look like they're newly half redacted files. And then people called it online immediately. They were like, "No, that's not, this isn't it at all." And then even the people who were like showing it off and like, "Look at this transparency," then they got mad because they were like, "You made us look like idiots. We thought you were releasing stuff you hadn't released before." And so then people called again, "Why aren't you releasing the Epstein files?" So if you're Trump, you know, you're probably sitting here, the only thing you can do is release the Epstein files and hope it's 100,000 pages. Who would have known the only distance between people and getting to the truth was reading? You know what I mean? We want to know. We as a people have the right to know. It's 80,000 pages. I'm gonna wait till the movie come out. But what are you gonna do? You know, Elon's the president. We know he's the president because, first of all, he tell everybody to report to him, sending whole government employees emails, tell me everything you did. It's like, isn't some of that classified? Like, it's wild. You stand in the Oval Office talking about what we're doing. It's like, who is we? Got your son in there. That's how you could tell Trump not the president. Got Elon's son rubbing his boogers on him. I've had a lot of jobs and a lot of bosses. And no boss's child has ever rubbed boogers on me. I will quit before I let your child rub boogers on me. Elon is the face of Tesla. And he's also the face of DOGE, this department that's been cutting all these government jobs and gutting a lot of government programs and everything. And I've talked to a lot of people, a lot of people across the political spectrum about DOGE, about their actions, and from the time it started to present, right? So some people are like, oh yeah, it's a little bit much now that we're very much on its side. There are some people that still don't see a problem. There's some people that hate it from the very beginning. But one thing that I have not come across, and I only speak for myself, I'm not talking about I can't speak for the entirety of the internet. One thing I've come across is that there is no one who I have come across that says that there's no waste in the government and that they don't want to get to the bottom of what can be saved or what can be put to better use somewhere else. I think that's what generally everybody would want. If you pay your taxes and then you see where money's being wasted, it's like, oh, we have so many people who need that money in other departments, just move it over to them or give it back to the people or whatever the thing is. I don't think people inherently are upset about the idea that there's waste in the government. I know people that work in the government, they're like, this is a little waste. And so all of it comes down to what you cut and how you do it. That's it, top to bottom. That's the only thing anybody could really have a problem with, what you cut and how you do it, right? And I'll be vulnerable for a second. I'll admit to you right now, I've worked jobs. I've worked jobs where I was like, I'm not gonna tell anybody, but like, they really don't need me. Like, as long as they paying, I'll keep showing up, but like... And you end up seeing what happens. Because the thing with, whether it's voters or whether it's like rhetoric around how to handle this stuff, there are people who even now genuinely believe, oh, let's get a business person. Let's get someone who's good at business in government so they can run the government as efficiently as they run their business, right? And the problem there is that, like, let's say Amazon, a good example is like, let's say Amazon makes a mistake. And they make a mistake that all of us, everyone here, can acknowledge and see as a mistake. And so as a mistake, their stock drops because they lose some of the faith from their shareholders. Now, we see that drop in the stock, and maybe the mistake they make is they announce that all the cars from now on gonna have 3 wheels. Like, oh, we're gonna save so much money on tires. And we're like, no, you're gonna flip over, okay? And so then you see the stock start to dip because of that lack of confidence. And then for you as a potential investor, even a retail investor, that dip in the stock is an opportunity. You can buy in now. You can buy into that dip, and then when it goes back up, because they realize that 4 is probably best, that you can ride that wave on up. Fair enough. When you crash out a business, when you make mistakes in business, when you run a poor business, you can always start another business. The people who we even look up to as these beacons of industry were all people at some point who had a failed business, right? But the government is not a business, because if you crash out the government, if you make the same mistakes with the government, you don't have a country. And you can't just be like, no, he's going to start new America. You know, I used to have like a lemonade stand America, and that one didn't really work out, so I started like a tire shop America, and that still really wasn't it. So then I started this hedge fund America, and now we're cooking. Yeah. It does not work that way. And you saw what happened. You saw Elon run the government because he's the president. You saw Elon run the government the way he ran his business. When Elon took over Twitter, right? He comes into Twitter and he immediately starts firing everybody because he's like, you're waste, you're redundant, I don't know what you do, I don't know what that is, you're fired, you're fired, you're fired. And then a couple days after he took over, remember that brief period where he was like, how do you turn it on? And then someone who still worked there, who he didn't fire, was like, oh, you fired the dude who turned it on. Yeah, you asked me for a list of people to fire. I'm not going to put my name on the list. So And so you see, you end up seeing Elon firing people and then trying to like hire them back real quick and trying to like smooth over the things that he broke that didn't need breaking, you know? And then DOGE ends up working the same way. It ends up swooping in and firing a bunch of people and then trying to hire some of them back real quick, and it's chaos. And Elon is the face of it. He's the face of it because we didn't know who else was working in DOGE. We didn't know who was essentially like hacking into Social Security, who was going around judges' orders, who was breaking things and going to places they weren't supposed to be because we hadn't figured out how this whole thing was going to work. We didn't know. And then we found out that it was children. We found out they leaked the photos of those people that were high up in DOGE that were getting into Social Security and the IRS and everything. And we were like, what? Fresh out of school, I saw one kid's picture who was like high up in DOGE doing all the breaking in and stuff. And I was like, Peter Parker? I cannot believe that Spider-Man gonna cut off my grandma's Social Security. So I don't think it was anyone saying like there's no waste, but it's what you cut and how you cut it. You know, I think people would have appreciated like an actual audit. They said that they did one, but usually when you do an audit and you really account for the waste and you really account for what jobs you do and don't need, you don't have to hire anybody back. You know? The amount of people that they fired and then tried to immediately rehire shows that they're not actually being as careful as they should be with the process. Because I'll tell you right now, everyone that has ever fired me stood firm in their decision. I've never been fired and then somebody ran out after me. Hold on. That's my bad. I was wild. Yeah, I was trying to look good in front of the other employees. You come on back in here. That has never happened. Anyone who has ever fired me has never called me again. But then Elon is the face of it. People don't know what to do. They don't know what to do to express their anger and their disappointment, their frustration about this unelected person gutting these government programs. And you see where people, it's not just like a one-sided thing. It's not just like a liberal thing. You know, there are people who are like, I voted for Trump. I believe in what DOGE is doing, but then I'm told that I'm being cut because of bad performance, even though I'm holding right here a performance review for like a month before the election where they said that I was doing great, you know? And so then people across the political spectrum are going to the town halls and they're complaining to the representatives, and the representatives, they're not really hearing them out. They're not really backing them up. So there's even more frustration, and it's bubbling up, and it's bubbling up. And he's the face of two things. He's the face of DOGE, and he's the face of Tesla. And so then people go to the Tesla dealership, and he's not there. But people go to the Tesla dealership and they start protesting at the Tesla dealership, and then the stock starts tanking because there are people that are like, being attached to this right now is not a good look, you know? And then people start vandalizing Tesla, start putting swastikas on the Teslas and stuff like that. And then there are people who, you know, bought a Tesla in 2022. They're like, guys, I didn't know. I had no idea. And almost immediately, it felt like almost immediately Trump came to his defense, right? Trump invited Elon to the White House. I mean, he already got an office there because it's his White House. He's the boss. He's the president. But Trump told Elon, hey, bring a bunch of Teslas, park them out front of the White House. We'll do a dealership commercial. This man got in the Tesla. Trump got in the Tesla, was like, everything's computer. Which is not wrong. It's not wrong. I remember my first Tesla experience. You know, I didn't ride in a Tesla for a long time. I heard about it as a car, but I didn't get to be in one, and I don't drive, so I didn't try to drive one or anything. And my first Tesla that I ever got in was an Uber. And so when I walked up, I didn't know about the door. I didn't know the door would be all smooth like that. So this is me. Look, I'm admitting for a second. I'm being vulnerable here. I'm admitting for a second that this is me. This is my bad. I was doing too much in my head. I was doing too much, all right? Know that I know that before I even admit this to you. I was doing too much, right? But when I walked up to the Tesla, I thought my driver sucked the door in because I was black. And I was standing there like, never in all my days have I seen this type of racism. I was fierce. It was all smooth and everything. And so finally, driver noticed I'm not getting in the car, so he rolled down the window. I leaned over all indignant like... And then he started explaining how to open it. I was like, what do you mean you gotta push to pull? That doesn't even make sense. And then I get it with my thumb, and I was like, oh. Oh, okay. Got in the Uber, we took off. And this is the thing with the gig economy jobs, right? Is that, how do I put this? There's a social contract we have not written yet on like how much this is like your property versus my time versus our experience, right? And so when I get in an Uber, I'm very respectful of the fact that this person's car. This isn't my car, right? I'm not renting it so it can be my car for a little while. And we're sharing this time together, but it is my time that I'm paying for, so that's what makes me the customer, you know? So I try to not make any waves. I get in an Uber and I'm just like whatever they need to do. Sometimes there are people who start driving Uber very, very early, so they're tired, and so they got to blast themselves with cold air. They have to have their window down, and I'm like, I'd rather that than us die warm. You know what I mean? So I don't say anything. I'm like, I'll just be uncomfortable on the way to the airport because that's what's keeping this man awake. And this is the person that showed up to drive me, right? So I almost never say anything. It's a very big deal for me to even try to say anything. And I go ahead and I do it, though. And I'm like, hey, I'm so sorry. I'm not like, I usually don't do this or anything. But, you know, I leaned over to him and I was like, hey, I'm so sorry. But could you please, like, touch the wheel? Like, no, I know it's autopilot. I know it's autopilot. You put it in and everything. I just don't know what I'm paying for if we going. Like, if we, like, I'm not telling you how to drive. I'm telling you to drive. Like, it would be nice if you did drive. Like, just put a finger up. Make me believe. Just put a finger. And so you see all of these attacks on Tesla increasing, and the stock price dips and dips and dips. And it goes up a little bit. Every once in a while it goes up because there's some people who don't care about any of this at all, and they see it as an opportunity to buy low. And so it'll go up a little bit, maybe like 3-4% here, and then it drops a little bit more, and it's down from its high by a lot. And you've even seen people like in the Trump administration come out and say, hey, if you vandalize a Tesla, we're treating it as domestic terrorism. We're coming for you if you touch a Tesla, right? And it's just baffling, because everything that Trump is doing for Elon and everything that his administration is doing for Tesla is exactly what they were supposed to do for the voters. You know what I mean? Like Trump saw that his boy was having a little dip, was like a little bit more broke than he was the day before. He was like, let me help you out. You know what I mean? That felt like a campaign promise that I thought he made to everybody, but apparently he was just talking to 3 people. And even going after people who vandalize a Tesla as domestic terrorism. Like, when do we ever talk about domestic terrorism? You know how much domestic terrorism we have? It's a lot. And then you see Elon go on the news, and genuinely he seems like really upset, like genuinely hurt. And I think it's because, look, he's still the richest man in the world, but he used to be the richest man in the world by a larger margin. Like, he has lost billions and billions and billions of dollars, right? And he's so affected by it. And I think that maybe he's so affected by it because when these things are such a part of your life, they do become your identity. Maybe being richest man in the world, maybe being seen as this, like, this business guru, this scientific mind, all that stuff crumbles away when the people are not with you, when the people can't stand you, when you've angered them, when they don't want to have anything to do with you, And he sees the destruction, he sees the people turning on him, and he seems genuinely upset. And I don't think his feelings are hurt because some people are mad at him. He's never going to meet these people. I think that when you attach so much of your self-worth to this money and this status, this influence and this power, even the prospect of losing it can rattle you deep down, right? To your core as a person. And it looks like he's about to cry on the news when he's talking about, I don't know what I did to deserve this. It's like... And look, I'm glad he said that to a camera by himself and not, like, to a veteran's face. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he didn't really get that. The dude on Fox was like, you've done nothing to deserve this. You're a true patriot, whatever he said. And, I was sitting here watching Elon get genuinely sad. And I was like, oh... My heart goes out to you.
All right, he is the newest news correspondent for The Daily Show. He's hilarious. You're going to love him. Put your hands together for Josh Johnson.
Okay. I don't know if y'all heard about that dude in Wisconsin that faked his death and maybe moved to Europe. If you haven't heard about this, great. Okay, so basically, what we know is that supposedly there was a man who faked his death and might be in Europe right now. And he has a family, right? 3 kids, a wife, and everything. And one thing we usually don't do as men is give a man the credit that we owe him for being the new bottom. Like the new lowest common denominator. Like, as men, we need this man. We need him, all right? You know, anytime you mess up as a man, when there's a man near you who has messed up worse, you'd be like, hey, I could be that guy. You know, next time you forget a birthday or something, be like, baby, look, I'm sorry I messed up. But you know what I didn't do is fake my death and move to Europe. Some people do that. I love you, and I would never. If I die, it'll be for real. I'm a good man. When I die, it will be of an ulcer or something. You know what I mean? Something where you've really held the pain in, didn't talk to anybody, didn't try to do anything about it. You know, real man stuff. I'm gonna do what men are supposed to do. I'm gonna support this family, not go to therapy, hold it all in. And then one day grab my chest like, and you'll know that maybe we should have left this one argument alone, right? Because I would never fake my death and move to Europe. I've done plenty of things, plenty of dumb things. Sometimes I'm just like having a good day, not really paying attention, and then you come in and you haven't had a good day. So you're telling me all the things that happened in your day that were not good. And instead of listening, I'm just sort of nodding, right? I'm just sort of nodding and being like, Different versions of like tasting something when you're telling me a story. And then you catch on that I'm not listening. So you ask me, what did I just say? And then I say, what did I just say? And you can tell I haven't been listening. And I know I should listen. I know that you're telling me this to vent because you trust me and you want my input on your day, right? I know that I let you down, but you know what I didn't do is fake my death and move to Europe. I'm not saying it makes me a hero, but it definitely stops me from being a villain. Oh, as men, that's one of our favorite things. When you mess up, but then somebody messed up next to you and it's way worse. You know, it's like when you go out to eat, go out to a nice dinner, you know, you take your lady out. And you're having a good time and everything, and then something comes up, maybe it's a little annoying, and maybe you start to like bicker a little bit, you know, just like at the table, in between the server checking on you, just a little bit of like, well, you don't even know what's my, you know that. Oh yeah, you know that good whispering, you know that in between your teeth, not here. You know, you got both on edge and everything, so you in between the teeth, and she's over here saying everything, but just at that level of like half miming, half voicing, just like, I'm just trying to keep things together, okay? I'm just trying to keep the whole family together. Server comes up, is like, can I get y'all anything? Oh, no, we're fine. We're fine. It was a good night. How are you doing? How's your night going? And it's tough, you know, because you'll be in the moment just bickering. And then out of nowhere, a couple next to you, the next table over, that haven't been bickering, the couple that you look at like, why can't we be like them? She stands up and she throws wine in his face. And she's like, what do you mean your mistress is pregnant? And now all of a sudden you're like, I'm pretty good, right? Like I'm a pretty good guy? Huh? Can you give me that I didn't do all that? Like, you got the white wine, you wouldn't have even stained my shirt. Like, I would never put you through that, what those strangers are going through right now. And so it's good. It's good to have a new low as a man. You know I'm telling the truth. You know sooner or later you're gonna be in an argument and you're like, fine, all right, I'm no prize. But I'm here, right? Huh? I'm not in Europe, am I? I talk to you when we have a problem. I talk to you like a man. I don't hide my wallet on the shore. Yeah, this guy apparently faked his death and moved to Europe. And like, there's a lot of layers here. There's a lot of things to unpack, because let's also not pretend that there's never a reason to fake your death. All right, before we pass full judgment, I'm not saying this dude isn't a piece of shit for doing what he did. I'm saying that, like, there are reasons in life to fake your death. I'll go over some of them right now. Y'all look like you don't believe me. That's fine. That's fine. Okay, back in the day when I was in Chicago, I was hanging out with some friends. This is like about 5, 6 of us, right? And one of my friends, we're all in our like early 20s, by the way. One of our friends bought a yo-yo. And like gentlemen, none of us mentioned it. None of us were like, we are out here trying to get the ladies and you brought a yo-yo. You bringing the whole vibe down. And he brought his yo-yo and he was doing all the tricks. You know what I mean? You know, making it sleep and then popping it back up like a superpower. You know what I'm talking about? Those like... Because he had the one that had the like little acrylic... with the lights, yes. It had the lights. And the little acrylic sound like it would do the like when it was at the bottom. And if you ever want to hear the sound of women leaving, it's that. And so he's like, and then he was doing Around the World, and he was doing all the like walk the dogs and stuff like that. He was really good if you were 15. And so then, you know, he finally does one, and it comes back to shoot up, but it passes his hand and it hits him in the face, right? And he's hurt. Okay, you ever been hurt so bad that you couldn't make noise? It hit him, right? And instead of even screaming, he just was like, oh. It's that hurt where you just have to slap something to like transfer some of the hurt while you're hurting. It didn't hit him and fly. It's in his mouth, by the way. Like it's stuck. We're still looking at it. He didn't move it. It's where his mouth should be. It's just a yo-yo, and he's like. And then he spits out the yo-yo, and a tooth flies out with it. And if he had faked his death, I would get it. If he was like, I need to start over from here, I would understand. Like, I really do get it, how people get to that place where they gotta fake their own death, because this was very hurtful and embarrassing. Or just a guy, I saw this guy online, and he had this weird energy about him, and it happens to dudes sometimes, and he was like that dude at the club that shouldn't be at the club, and I don't mean like he's old or something. I mean, he has an unsettling energy where he's trying to be more fun than anyone knows that he is. You know what I mean? Like, you know that guy that's like, whoa, but it's like no woo is happening. We've all been around that person, like, yeah, and it's like, but it's a barbecue. I don't know why you are trying to bring all this extra. And so that's what he was doing. He was in this club. He's like, yeah, woo, woo. And like, there's not even that many people there. So there's nothing to lay cover. There's not even enough noise for like his energy versus what's actually happening. Because people are just kind of casually dancing. And he, yeah, yeah. And then there's a woman that is like near the stairs, right? And I don't know what the stairs lead to, maybe the bathroom or something like that. But this woman is near the stairs and she's like twerking along the wall, and she's like really got it going. Like she's very good, right? And then this guy walks up and he's like, yeah, yeah, and he like slaps her ass a couple times and then starts doing this and everything, and then goes to go down the stairs. But then right as he goes to go down the stairs, his feet give up. His feet decide that they don't want to be a part of him, right? And so rather than walking down the stairs, this man trips with both his feet. I've never seen anything like this in my entire life. This man trips with both his feet and then rides just his knees and shins down the stairs. And when I say rides, I mean, like, have you ever been on a sled? It's like that. It's exactly like that, but without the sled. He's just riding down, Home Alone style, just... And he's screaming, and you can barely hear him scream because the music is loud, but he's screaming so because he's riding his knees and shins down every step. They did not miss a step. Every knee hit every stair, and his shins hit all of the stairs. And so he's like, like a bird, right? Screaming like a bird the entire way down. He hits every step. And for some reason, I don't know why he thought it would help, but he's holding the handrail the whole time. And he's like, And if that guy faked his death, you would get it. You would be like, yeah, you gotta start over. You gotta start, I would say move to a place that doesn't even have music. Like, you gotta do some different things. Move to a plateau. That's the type of, don't even have any elevation where you live, because what if you have to go upstairs again? We don't know if you'll make it down. When I was growing up, I knew a kid who was dating someone for a long time. They started dating young, right? And it was very sweet. And it was in the same, how do you put this? It was in the same way that, like, you hear grandparents tell stories about falling in love, is how he fell in love. Because he said early on, I'm going to marry this girl, right? And he had to have been like 18, something like that. I'm gonna marry this girl. He said it early, right? And he did the thing that we look at as like the most romantic thing possible. Buys a ring within a year, but doesn't do anything with, waits years. I bought the ring when I was 19. We're dating. We're 23. I bought the ring years ago because I was sure. I know, right? And they have their little fights and stuff like that. They have little spats and stuff. But then one day he decides, like, yeah, this is it. And he takes her on a trip, right? And they go on a trip that's like kind of the woods. I don't know. They rented a cabin. But they have their little fights on the way and everything. And overall, it's a nice time, They cook. They watch a movie and everything. And he decides he's going to propose to her while they're sitting on the couch when they get done watching one of her favorite movies. They both cooked. But then he had a cupcake. He put the ring in the cupcake, and they were going to share a cupcake. And whenever she got to the middle, that's where the ring would be. He would ask her, right? And he had the whole thing planned out. And he even had his speech planned out per bite, because he was going to take these little bites and then, bite, ring, right? And so he starts it, and he's like, hey, I want to talk to you about something. Takes a little bite, passes it to her, and she's like, what? Takes a big bite. To say they're supposed to be sharing takes an inconsiderate bite. Like this, you know, like when you're a couple and you order something and they're like, can I have a little bit of yours? And you're like, sure. And then they slide a whole more than a little off your plate onto their plate. And you're like, you should have said half then. If you want half, say half. Don't say a little bit when you know it's half. Because you know you like my orders because I know how to order. You over here experimenting, trying to have an experience, and then you don't like what you got. Now you want half of what I have, which would normally be fine, but you said a little bit. If you said split, then we good. You say split, then we're splitting. That's what half is, splitting. You said a little bit, and now I don't even know what it tastes like because you didn't pick up, because mine came first and you went ahead and picked off mine, then took half when you got yours. So now I've had at least a seventh of the meal that I ordered that I think is good, but I don't remember how it tastes because it just sort of left my memory so fast. And so she's taking these big bites, so he got to take smaller bites, and he got to turn the cupcake when he passes it back to her to make sure her bites don't interfere with his speech, because now he got to hurry up the speech because the bites are too big. And so now he handing her the thing from the bottom, just bite this part. I'm almost done. And when he hands her what's basically a ring covered in a little bit of cupcake to try to bite, at the same time that he says, will you marry me, she says, I think we should break up. And so if you want to fake your death, like that's kind of like the opportune moment to be like, oh, yeah, you want to break up, and I wanted to I'll be right back. And then just move to Europe, I suppose. But yeah, so this dude in Wisconsin faked his death, maybe moved to Europe, and the way he did it, this is my thing, okay. So, first of all, he goes on a kayaking trip alone, right? Which, to be fair, is very much missing activity. You know what I mean? That should actually be in the brochure. Hey, do you want to get away from everything forever? Come kayaking by yourself. This dude goes kayaking by himself, actually texts his wife on like the 11th, and it's like, hey, heading back, whatever, right? But then doesn't head back. On the 12th is when he supposedly would have capsized, or, you know, they think he may have drowned or something like that. They put on this whole search because by the 13th, his family hasn't heard from him. They're concerned, right? So they send out the search, and like a search of volunteers who search acres and search the water. They use sonar. They use all this technology to try to find this dude. And there's actually a dude that works with the organization that does the searching that tells the sheriff, hey, listen, this is weird, because I'm not saying if I can't find him he can't be found. I'm just saying I'm pretty good at what I do, and he either not in this water or he went missing somewhere else, because I know what I do. Like I'm very good at this, and we're not seeing anything. We're not seeing any signs, anything. And then, you know, sure enough, they decide to go ahead and look into a possibility of him maybe going missing somewhere else. They also run his name just to make sure, right? And when they run his name, they find that he went to Canada on the 13th, right? So, not missing, using his name, running his name so they can travel, maybe go to Europe through Canada, right? And this is where it starts to be clear that he does not know how to disappear. This is where it's clear he's watched a lot of TV but has not put in the work, because this is what this bonehead did. Okay, so basically, this man said that his passport was lost, because his passport's at home, right? Because I've disappeared, I'm missing, I might have died, right? But his passport's at home. What he did was he just put in for a new passport so that he'd have a passport to leave behind and to use. The only problem is that when they run your name, it's still you. What kind of dumb spy move is that? That's still your name. That's like getting pulled over and handing the cop a fake ID. You still in the car. Like this. And then his wife goes through his computer and stuff, and they find everything. They basically find where this dude has like looked up how to exchange money into a foreign bank. He's looked up how to travel, how to disappear. And this is my worry. I have the feeling that this dude thought that he covered all his tracks because he put everything in the recycle bin. And then left it there. Like that, I genuinely think that's what happened. I think this dude was just moving files like, and they'll never catch me. I'm a mastermind. It's painful, right? So they find everything, and then his wife gives it to the police and stuff, and the police are like, oh, okay, yeah, this is pretty dumb, They even find where he took out a life insurance policy for like, I think $375,000, something like that. And this moment was where I had a journey in how I felt about this dude. Because initially when I heard it, I was like, what a terrible person, right? But then when I heard about the life insurance policy, I was like, wait, maybe I'm judging too quickly. Because if this dude is leaving a life insurance policy for his family, maybe he's just trying to make a clean break. Maybe this dude is like, look. I'm not a good father anyway. Let's at least part ways like this. Let me go ahead and get you some money for your trouble, and I'll go and I'll live in Europe and everything. Most dads leave for free. This dude, there's a high likelihood that this dude was like, let me break you off some bread, right? I'm gonna start a new life. You could go through college for free. And then I saw what doesn't look like he's tried to claim the life insurance policy, which would also be insane. That would be, I don't know much about insurance, and I don't like insurance companies, but that would be hella out of pocket to show up and be like, y'all, I died. I'd like the money from me dying, please. See, the policy says right here, if I died, this is how much whoever gets, and whoever is me and I died. So can you please make the check out to me? And so then I went back and forth. I was like, oh, maybe. No, actually, no, he's just a bad person. Just a bad dude. Faking his death, leaving his wallet, leaving his kayak, leaving his family. And then they find that apparently he's been talking to someone. He didn't just try to leave. Because that's another thing. When I thought he was just trying to leave, I was like, okay. It's not how you handle it. But some people, they have an episode. They're like, I need to get away. I don't know how, But then when I found out, like his family found out, that he left to be with some lover in Uzbekistan. That's also when my feelings sort of went up and down because I was like, oh, you're not even doing it in some like I can't live this life sort of way. You know what I mean? Like you're not having a midlife crisis in that way. You're just trying to cheat. All right, no, I can't get down with this. But a part of me momentarily did feel bad for him because I was like, wait, you met a woman in Uzbekistan. Oh, he's never been catfished before. This is my thing. I don't know if y'all have seen, you don't have to tell me if you know what I'm talking about. We can all just act innocent. But there are, in this world, illicit sites. Illicit sites where you go to watch people the beast with two backs. And then in these sites are ads. Ads for local singles in your area. Or even better, ads for very willing women who would love to marry you in Russia and Uzbekistan. I think my man may have fallen for one of these ads. That or he's been watching too much 90 Day Fiancé. Because, I feel like, come on now. How well do you know this person? And so now you faked your death to go to Europe to be with someone who might not even be real. That's wild. You gonna blow up your whole life for some text messages? I mean, really, how good are those texts? You know what I mean? No one found a picture. No one knows what this person looks like. They just know that, someone enticed him in some bad English. And now he's headed over there. And I don't know. I feel like you clearly have to be in a bad place to do something like this. You have a family. You know what I mean? You have people that depend on you. And you're about to throw it all away to go to a place I'm sure you can't spell. Because never forget, this man is an American. That's also what you have to keep in mind here. He over here trying to travel as an American, try to get help in English and stuff. People in Romania speaking Romanian. He doesn't understand it. He's like, I just need to get to Uzbekistan. Do you know how to go left in Europe? Now he gets over there. Who knows what life is waiting for him, you know? I'd like to think that this woman in Uzbekistan really does exist. And she's mad as hell right now. She's like, no, we were supposed to go to America. Are you serious? You can't live with me. Because that's what would be, truly wild. If this dude comes back defeated. Just comes back to his family and is like, listen, y'all, look. I know what I did. I'm very sorry. Can you take me back? I've found, a new life here with you. I just want to be back with my family. Because obviously I hope this doesn't happen. But it would be kind of funny if while he's missing this whole time, he comes back home and his wife kills him. That would that'd be crazy. This dude show back up at his doorstep and his wife already got the shotgun and everything. He's like, baby, no. He's like, baby, I don't talk to ghosts.